All right, ready to dive into some serious history.
Let's do it.
You sent us this Wikipedia article on the 30 Years' War, and wow, looks intense, right?
Yeah, it's a big one.
So much going on. But trust me, this isn't just going to be some boring history lecture. We're talking family drama, crazy power struggles, maybe even a ghost story or two. You in?
Absolutely. The 30 Years' War, it's often simplified, just boiled down to Catholics versus
Yeah,
Protestants.
the classic religious war story.
Right, but the truth, it's way more complicated than that.
I was thinking that already. So give it to me straight. What's the real story here? What's
Yeah.
hiding beneath the surface of this religious war?
Okay, so picture Europe, right? But imagine it like a pressure cooker ready to explode. You've got these massive power struggles going on. And right at the center, you've got the Habsburgs, this one family ruling both Spain and Austria.
Talk about a dynasty.
No kidding. And the rest of Europe, especially France, they're getting a little nervous. They're thinking, okay, the Habsburgs are getting a little too big for their britches, especially because Spain needs to move their armies up through Europe to fight the Dutch. That's where the Spanish road comes in.
Okay, the Spanish Road. What's that all about?
So this wasn't just any old road. It was the most important route right through the Holy Roman Empire for Spain to get its armies and supplies up to the Netherlands to keep fighting. Whoever controlled the land along that road, they had serious power.
Prime real estate. I can see why everyone would be fighting over it.
Exactly. Suddenly, everyone realized they're sitting on a gold mine. It stops being about religion so much, and it becomes about control, access, who gets what, like a really high-stakes game of Risk, 17th century style.
And I bet everyone wanted to play.
Oh, you better believe it. You've got guys like Christian IV of Denmark. He was Protestant, but also, get this, an imperial prince in the Holy Roman Empire.
Whoa! Talk about divided loyalties. That's bound to cause some issues.
And here's where it gets even juicier. Christian IV, he also happened to be a huge rival with another Protestant king, Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden.
Wait, I'm confused. Protestants fighting Protestants. Shouldn't they be on the same side?
You'd think, right. But here's the thing. Christian IV and Gustavus Adolphus might have shared a faith, but they were also competing for control over the really profitable Baltic trade. Awkward.
Yeah, just a bit. So much for religious solidarity. I guess personal ambition and cold, hard cash, they spoke a lot louder than religious ties back then, huh?
You got it. And that's what makes the 30 Years' War so fascinating. It's this huge web of shifting alliances. Everybody's got a secret agenda. And you've got these wild card players all fighting for power on a continental scale.
All right, so we've got this powder keg of ambition and rivalry, not to mention religious tension, all simmering across Europe. What finally sets it all off? What turns this, Cold War into a boiling point?
All right, so picture this. Prague, 1618. Tensions are running super high between these local Bohemian nobles and the Habsburg Emperor, Ferdinand II. And Ferdinand, he's really trying to put his foot down, especially when it comes to religion. Wants everybody in line, towing the Catholic line.
And the Bohemian nobles, I'm guessing, they weren't too keen on that idea.
Let's just say they weren't exactly thrilled about it. They saw this as a direct attack on their rights, their freedoms. Things they had fought hard to protect, by the way. So they decided to make a statement. A big one.
Okay, I think I know where this is going. Are we talking about a window and a very long drop?
Ding, ding, ding. We've got a winner. It's the defenestration of Prague, baby. Two of Ferdinand's guys right out the window at Prague Castle. And yeah, I know, defenestration, it's a mouthful, but actually it wasn't, unheard of in Bohemian politics.
So this wasn't their first window-tossing rodeo. What was different this time? Why did this one start a war across a whole continent?
This was less about throwing someone out a window and more like throwing down a gauntlet, It was the Bohemian noble saying, we are done playing this game.
Talk about a power move.
Yeah.
So who steps up to lead this rebellion?
Enter, stage left, Frederick V, the Elector Palatine. An elector, just so you know, was one of the princes who got to elect the Holy Roman Emperor. Big deal. And the Palatinate. That was a powerful chunk of land in the Holy Roman Empire.
Okay, so Frederick's a big deal himself then. But he's also, taking a huge chance going up against the Habsburgs. What's his plan here?
Frederick, he was a Calvinist, so accepting the Bohemian crown, it was a way to protect Protestants, maybe even gain a little power for himself along the way. But, and this is a big but, he was also married to, get this, Elizabeth Stuart, daughter of James I of England.
Wait, King James Bible James. Things just got interesting.
That's the one. And this little family connection, it dragged England, even though they weren't so sure about the whole thing, to the edge of war. James, He wasn't exactly thrilled about his son-in-law picking a fight with the Habsburgs. But, family.
Family drama, international stage.
Hmm.
I'm here for it. So who else is jumping into this mess?
Oh, we've got Maximilian of Bavaria, Catholic, but more interested in expanding his own territory in the Palatinate than sticking up for a fellow Catholic. Just goes to show, personal ambition, it was a powerful motivator.
Seems like everyone had their own agenda back then.
Mm.
So Frederick and his reluctant father-in-law on one side, the Habsburgs and their power-hungry allies on the other. How did it all shake out?
Well, at first, Frederick, the Winter King, he had a few good wins, but it didn't last. The Battle of White Mountain, 1620, that was a crushing defeat for him. Had to hightail it to the Dutch Republic.
Ouch. Not exactly the ending you'd want as the Winter King. So with Frederick out, does the conflict just fizzle out?
No way. Remember Christian IV, our ambitious Danish king who wanted to control the Baltic. He sees an opening, figured he could protect Protestants, and, let's be honest, gain a little something for himself while he's at it.
Of course, never let a good crisis go to waste. So how'd he do? How'd Christian V fare against those Habsburg forces? So Christian IV jumps in, hoping to save the day for the Protestants. Did he manage to pull it off?
Well, he put up a good fight, even got some help from England and the Dutch. But he was up against a real powerhouse, a general by the name of Albrecht von Wallenstein.
Wallenstein, all right. He sounds like someone worth knowing about. What's his deal?
This Wallenstein, he was a military genius, no doubt about it. But he was also ruthless. Knew that winning battles wasn't enough. You had to control the resources, the money, the whole shebang. Get this, he actually funded his own army, a huge army, by basically taking what he wanted from the places he conquered.
Effective, but brutal.
You said it. But all that power, it started to make the emperor nervous. Ferdinand, he eventually had Wallenstein assassinated in 1634, worried he was getting a little too big for his boots.
Oh, talk about a backstab. Looks like ambition could be pretty dangerous back then. So the Winter King's gone, Christian V's out, Wallenstein's dead. Who's left to stand up to the Habsburgs?
Just when things were looking grim for the Protestants, a new player enters the scene, up from the north. Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden, the Lion of the North.
Gustavus Adolphus. Now, there's a name that still echoes through history. What made him such a legend?
This guy, he wasn't just good, he was a total game changer. Completely revolutionized how wars were fought. Didn't just rely on the same old formations and tactics, oh no. Gustavus Adolphus, he brought combined arms, infantry, cavalry, and, get this, mobile artillery. All working together.
Mobile artillery. So he's basically bringing cannons to a knife fight.
Pretty much. Speed, flexibility, firepower, that was his thing. His army, they could adapt on the fly, and it completely blindsided his opponents who were stuck doing things the old way.
And I bet those wins just added to the whole Lion of the North image.
You know it. He racked up some serious victories, like the Battle of Breitenfeld in 1631, sent shockwaves through Europe. Everyone's thinking, who is this guy, and how is he beating the unbeatable Habsburgs?
So did he do it? Did Gustavus Adolphus save the day for the Protestants?
He was on a roll, I'll give him that. But no fairy tale ending, I'm afraid. He was killed in battle in 1632 at Lutzen. Brutal fight. The Swedes won, but losing their fearless leader, well, that was a blow.
It's like they say, even the best don't always make it out. So what happens to the Swedes without their lion?
They rally, fueled by, well, grief and maybe a little thirst for revenge. Gustavus Adolphus might have been gone, but his right-hand man, Axel Oxenstierna, he takes the reins. And they get some unlikely help from, get this, Cardinal Richelieu of France.
Wait, Richelieu, he wasn't exactly known for being, pro-Protestant, was he?
Richelieu was all about what was good for France. And weakening the Habsburgs, well, that was always good for France. So he threw his weight behind the Swedes. Troops, money, the works. Suddenly, this thing is a truly European-wide showdown.
It's amazing, isn't it? How this whole conflict started with some guys getting tossed out a window, and now it's blown up into this epic struggle. But with all this talk about kings and battles and strategy, it's easy to forget about the regular folks caught in the middle. What was the human cost of all of this?
Unimaginable. And I don't just mean the soldiers dying in battle. We're talking entire regions wiped out, armies marching back and forth, trade disrupted, disease running rampant, entire villages gone, not because of some glorious battle, but because of typhus, dysentery, the plague.
It's chilling to think about.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the war also made another terrifying thing even worse: witch hunts.
This was during the peak of the whole witch craze in Europe, right?
Yeah.
What did the war have to do with it?
Well, people were afraid. They were desperate. They needed someone to blame for all the bad things happening. And in a time when people were already scared of witches, well, It was easy to point the finger. Thousands of innocent people, mostly women, accused of witchcraft, tortured, executed.
A true low point.
Hmm.
So after decades of all this horror, all this violence, how does it finally end?
1648, the Peace of Westphalia, a whole series of treaties, actually, finally brought the 30 Years' War to an end.
Peace at last. But what did that peace actually look like? Did it actually solve anything?
The Peace of Westphalia was a big deal. It redrew the map of Europe, but more importantly, it changed how people thought about power and religion. One of the most important things it did was to establish the idea of state sovereignty. Basically, each state within the Holy Roman Empire, they got to decide their own affairs without the emperor bossing them around.
So less power for the emperor, more power to the people. Or at least more power to the local rulers.
You got it. It also tried to deal with the whole religion question. Calvinism, which had been causing so much trouble, it was officially recognized as legit. And they put in some rules about religious tolerance. People were supposed to be able to practice their own religion without getting persecuted.
Well, that's a step in the right direction.
Definitely. But we all know old habits die hard. The Peace of Westphalia didn't magically erase centuries of religious strife overnight, but it did lay the groundwork for a more tolerant Europe down the line. Hopefully, anyway.
So we've talked about the alliances, the battles, the big players, the devastating costs, and that long, hard road to peace. Why does any of this